Vegas sure knows how to set a line, don't they? They got it on lockdown. What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. The first game of the Mike Macdonald era is in the books, and the Seahawks have come out on top, 26-20. It was a very interesting game. It was a game that didn't necessarily go the way I think a lot of us expected. Maybe the final result was kind of in line with expectations, but overall, that was a really interesting game, and there's a lot to talk about after that one. So, welcome to the Seahawks Brendan Nelson post-game video, sponsored by BetUS. We'll talk more about them in a second here, but I mean, if you want to talk about the Mike Macdonald angle of this game, that was really, really good. The defense. I challenge anybody to point out one player on this defense that played poorly today. Like, that should be where the conversation starts, right? You look at this defense, you go up and down the list of players, you look at the numbers, you look at the tape, and you're trying to find one guy who played bad. I don't think you can do it. I think that at the very least, you'd have to be picking some serious nits to pull it off. And in this post-Pete Carroll era, with a new head coach who is known for his defensive prowess, that is ultimately what we're looking for. And I know that today was not the greatest performance offensively. I know that some of the things that happened out there today are going to be very frustrating for some people. Justifiably so, deservedly so. But that was a good all-around first game for the parts of this team that I think people are the most interested in based on the way the last couple seasons have gone. So we're going to talk a lot more about this one before this video ends, but before we get into that, I want to tell you about my friends over at BetUS, because if you head over there right now, as of, within an hour of this video being uploaded, you can still throw down some wagers on this big Sunday night football game, the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. You know what we want. You know what we need. Pull in for those Detroit Lions to get the win. Send the Rams to an 0-1 start. Get the Seahawks off on the right foot in the division. Just go over to BetUS. It's -5 right now. It might move right before game time, so get over there if you like that line. And do it on BetUS, because right now, if you use the promo code on BetUS, YouTube150, code YouTube150, you can get 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. So take advantage of that. All right, so back to the game here. First, I hope you like this video. If you do, please consider clicking the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Consider becoming a channel member for $2 a month. Click the bell for notifications. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so, let's start with the defense, because it's going to be really easy with those guys. That was almost perfect. The Seahawks forced turnovers. The Seahawks kept points off the board. The Seahawks did not let the Broncos broach the end zone until the very end of the game, right near the 2-minute warning. They were put in multiple really bad situations off of turnovers and miscues and mistakes. And over and over and over again, they got it done. And they got it done because they tackled brilliantly. They had some of the best tackling we've seen from a Seahawks defense in a very long time. And they didn't ever let Bo Nix get the kind of offense that he needed to actually have a good game in this one. Because the only way Bo Nix was going to have a good game in this one would be if you allowed a lot of yards after the catch, you had a lot of broken tackles, you had a lot of blown opportunities to make plays in the backfield or around the line of scrimmage. That was the only way. Because Bo Nix could not push the ball down the field at all outside of maybe one play this whole game. And I will admit this, I'm going to say this because some people are going to bring it up. Bo Nix played awful. People are going to look at the numbers for Bo Nix and they're going to be like, oh, he played a bad game. I think the numbers are not even doing that justice. He was awful. Almost every time he tried to actually make a real throw, make a real play down the field, he was off. The decision was bad. The throw was bad. Everything was really bad until that last drive when he was able to salvage a little bit. But even then, he took so long to get down the field and score that it barely mattered. And he never got the ball back because he was acting like he had all the time in the world on the last drive. So that was a terrible game for Bo Nix. It is very unlikely we will play another game this year against a quarterback who plays that poorly. So Bo Nix had his part in it as well. But previous Seahawks defenses might have allowed him to get away with it because they wouldn't have tackled, they wouldn't have executed well, and they would have allowed those short completions, those checkdowns and dump offs that he was throwing the whole game to go for big plays. In this game, nothing shook free. Not a single solitary thing shook free for Bo Nix. So 138 passing yards in a game on 42 attempts. I mean, that's something that should never really happen, and it happened. Oh boy, it happened, and this is how it happens. It happens because you tackle. It happens because you execute defensively. No busted coverages. Nobody running wide open deep down the field because somebody didn't know where they were supposed to be. And honestly, he probably should have thrown like 5 interceptions in this game. He threw 2. Probably should have been like 5. It was a really bad first day at the office for Bo Nix. And obviously, he's a rookie. It's his first ever start. If I'm a Broncos fan, I am honestly concerned about Bo Nix right now. Like, big picture, I'm concerned because he did not look like an NFL quarterback. That looked like a punter trying to play quarterback for one game. So the defense had that benefit, but Tyrell Dodson was brilliant, I thought. I thought Tyrell Dodson played an incredibly good game. I thought that Woolen, obviously, with the interception, he made some other nice plays in coverage. Great game by him. I know Witherspoon dropped a couple interception opportunities. I think Dodson actually had one as well, but I thought Witherspoon played a good game. Kind of looked stupid on that last defensive play, but hey, no harm, no foul at the end of it. So I got Boye Mafe was awesome. I thought Boye Mafe got pressure. Boye Mafe making plays in the backfield. Leonard Williams got free for a crucial pressure on Bo Nix late in this game. I was happy with almost everything I saw. Mike Morris. Again, you go down the list of defensive players on this Seahawks team. Try to find somebody who didn't get it done. I don't think you can. There were a couple big runs by Denver in this game. They had like the 23-yard Bo Nix run on that touchdown drive. They had a 15-yard run by McLaughlin. Esteem had a nice run where he actually fumbled at the end, and Denver got very lucky. But overall, the run defense got the job done. If the only big chunk run you're allowing is the QB scramble by Bo Nix, you did something right. So obviously, Denver has their own problems. That's probably one of the worst offenses in the league right now. That's probably an offense that is going to end up ranked in the bottom 5 for the first half of the season and may struggle to get out of the bottom 10 before the end of it. This defense still played an excellent all-around game. I was happy with almost everything. I mean, if I was to try to find something, I didn't see a lot from Derek Hall. I didn't see a lot from Byron Murphy, but it's not like they were doing anything wrong. They just didn't make a lot of splash plays. The QB pressure wasn't great, but Denver's offensive line is legit, so I wasn't expecting it to be anything amazing. And we still got enough pressure to force Bo Nix to constantly get the ball out of his hands really quickly and throw it for short little gains that ultimately didn't mean anything. Like, that was the ultimate Charlie check down game. That is the ultimate in not meaningfully moving the ball down the field, even though your completion percentage might be propped up a little bit. So yeah, defense, beautiful. No real complaints. That was exactly what we needed to see in this game. And they were put in so many bad situations too. So that gets us to the offense. And over there, obviously the conversation has to shift. The offense, this did not look like an NFL offensive line today. This did not. And I anticipated there would be problems, but we got bullied so badly in pass protection in this game. I couldn't believe it. And I'm going to say it right now. If that's the offensive line we have the rest of the season, the results are not going to be what we want them to be. We're going to have way too much time of possession on the defense. The defense is going to get absolutely exhausted by the end of the year, and we're going to have some of the same problems that we've had the last 2 years. And I cannot believe how bad it was. That was as bad as any offensive line that we had during the Pete Carroll era. And there were some bad ones. That reminded me, especially in that first half, of the offensive lines that we had in the Tom Cable end of days. that 2017, maybe 2016 era where it was just complete ineptitude because Tom Cable didn't know how to coach anymore. I mean, I don't know how you get through an offseason, go into your first game against a Denver team that has some talent on that front seven. I understand that. They got some good players up there, but it is not any kind of a front that should be dominating you like they're the 85 Bears or something. They look like the 85 Bears for much of the first half, and it got a little bit better in the second half, but still very little that you like. And I know that George Fant got hurt, and by the way, that injury doesn't look good to me. I'm not enthused about that. But George Fant was playing terrible before he got hurt, so I don't even think we can sit here and act like that was some big difference maker. I know Stone Forsythe is terrible, and I know we didn't game plan to have Stone Forsythe, and that causes problems because you construct your whole game plan around assuming George Fant is going to make it past the first quarter. But George Fant played so bad, I'm not even going to sit here and act like, oh, it would have been okay if he was in there. No. I don't even know if right tackle was our biggest problem. Stone Forsythe might have been a top 3 offensive lineman for the Seahawks in this game. As crazy as that sounds. I think both our guards may have been worse. Anthony Bradford picks up 2 penalties, including one that causes a safety. A really bad penalty, really obvious penalty, when he didn't need to do it. And Laken Tomlinson looks awful. So, I mean, I don't know where you go from here necessarily. I don't really know what to say about it because even Connor Williams looked awful. Although, I will say, I'm not upset at Connor Williams. It was his first game back from an ACL tear. He's only been on this team for 3 months. So him looking awful is one thing. Anthony Bradford looking that bad? Where did that come from? Laken, I'm not really surprised by. I mean, it's not okay. And I would love to see this team just kick Laken Tomlinson out of the building this week and just go with Christian Haynes the rest of the way because I don't think you can be worse than Tomlinson. But at the same time, I gotta wonder, how did this coaching staff look at this in the offseason and think this was okay? I mean, we only saw a tiny bit of Laken Tomlinson in the preseason, so we weren't really able to judge it. I wasn't that impressed with the little bit that we did see, so there's definitely a big part of me that is just what were you looking at in the offseason that you thought this would be okay? Now, maybe Bradford just had a bad game, and Bradford's young and inexperienced, so I'm not going to trip too much about that one. I'm not here to rag on Bradford specifically, but it was a bad game. It was a bad game, and it's the kind of game that might call for some kind of a change up front, because even in that second half, when things got better, it still wasn't really anything that I was particularly thrilled about. Rough game for DK, 2 penalties and a drop on a 2-point conversion that almost ended up mattering. Quiet game for JSN. He had a couple of catches. I don't think he necessarily did anything wrong, but, quiet day. It happens. I did kind of call that Lockett would kind of be a bigger presence on this game than some people might expect. I did think that with the matchups in this game with Surtain and Jaleel at slot against JSN, you might be looking at Lockett for a big game, and we got the big game from Lockett, so that was awesome. And I don't know how many games he's going to have where he's a leading receiver for the Seahawks this year, so it was great to get one out of the way, and to have him seal the game with that monster catch on 3rd down and 6, where I don't know how he made it, but he did. That was awesome. And I mean, that kind of gets you to the 2 guys who are going to be in the biggest spotlight, Ryan Grubb and Geno Smith. I mean, Grubb, I got to give him some credit here. After Stone Forsythe went in the game, it was clear that this team wasn't really going to be able to have a wide open aerial attack. And the way that first half went, I think he just kind of realized this is not happening. So they went to a run-heavy attack in that second half. They ran the ball significantly more than they threw it in this game. There was a point in this game in the 3rd quarter when the game was still close, when he just decided, I'm going to pound it the whole game. And it worked. It was absolutely not in Ryan Grubb's wheelhouse to do that, and he did it because he had to do it. It worked great. It did its job, and I do have to give him credit for that. There was some stuff out there that I certainly liked, but some of the stuff confused me. Even before Forsythe went out there, the offensive line was playing really poorly, and it kind of felt like that first half he wasn't prepared for that. he wasn't ready to have an offensive line like that. And he's the one in the building over the last several months with this team. So he should be looking at the team that he has and knowing, look, I got to find a way to coach the players that I have. And that first half, it kind of looked like he was planning on airing it out the way he did at Washington with Penix and the best offensive line in college football, and he couldn't do it. And it took him a while to adjust to it, which was frustrating. I really didn't like a lot of those play calls. The two safeties, I thought both play calls were pretty bad. I don't know why Charbonnet's in there on the final drive of the game when we have Walker, who's clearly the better running back and clearly better in that situation. There were some slow developing runs with Charbonnet that didn't make any sense to me. That's not his game. You give those plays to Walker. Charbonnet gets other kinds of carries, not those. But the pseudo wheel route to Charbonnet, thing of beauty. That's the kind of stuff we like. Some of the run plays were really nice. Some of the designs for Shenault, I know they didn't go anywhere in this game, but I like the fact that they're there. I like the fact that it's something that he's going to doubtlessly turn back to at some point this season, and eventually it will work. So mixed day from Ryan Grubb, and I mean, Geno Smith, I don't know. It's like, I feel like a jerk for even criticizing him for anything right now because of how atrocious that offensive line was. It certainly wasn't his best game, but I thought he did about what was there. I thought he did about what he could, especially when you have first downs and touchdowns getting taken off the board by Metcalf penalties, and you have that abysmal crap show of a offensive line in front of you. Like, hey, I mean, he set a record, right? He set a record for the longest touchdown run by a quarterback since, what, 84? Since I've been alive, so that's some kind of record, right? You put that in the record book, longest Seahawks quarterback rushing touchdown since Seahawks Brendan Nelson has been alive. I think you could do that. But obviously it's not a game that's going to get anybody super excited. And maybe we should have expected that. That first half was so hideously ugly, though, that it's going to skew things a little bit. Like, realistically, that second half was good. That second half, we did a lot of good things. And you're trying to move past that first half where it was so bad, but it's tough because it was just that abysmally ugly. And of course, special teams, D. Williams, the trifecta of nonsense decisions on that punt return. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what to say about it. But he's a rookie in his first ever game. Maybe it's not the most shocking thing in the world. I don't know. So, other than that, special teams were fine. Denver had an incredible performance from their punter. Not much you can do about that sometimes. And you get the win. You get the win, and you got to feel okay about it. All right, so I'll be streaming in a couple hours. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. Once again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Always gamble responsibly.